Hello everyone, this is Stepan and welcome to Hanging Pawns. The Aeroflot tournament played in Moscow just started yesterday and there are many strong GMs competing. Some very interesting games have been played already, in fact in the first two rounds, yesterday and today. Today I'm going to show you a game played just a few hours ago between the Indian chess prodigy and the world's youngest international master in history, Rameshbabu Praggnanandhaa. He's just 12 years old at the moment. And the Russian GM Igor Lysyj. Praggnanandhaa was white and he opened with 1 e4. We have e5 by the Russian GM, knight f3, knight to c6, and Praggnanandhaa doesn't go for the Spanish or the Italian, he plays knight to c3, the 4 knights variation with knight f6 after Lysyj plays knight f6. This opening has become somewhat popular in the last few years, even though it's mainly considered to be for beginners and a bit boring, but it's generally a great opening. We have bishop to b5 by Praggnanandhaa, the Spanish variation of the 4 knights game, and this exact position could actually also transpose from the Ruy Lopez or from the Berlin defense. We have bishop to c5 by Lysyj. Instead of this, black would have also gone for bishop b4, but these are both theoretical moves, and in this position two most common lines after bishop to c5 are either taking the knight with bishop to takes c6 for white, or playing knight takes c5. Praggnanandhaa goes for knight takes c5, temporarily sacking a piece, and knight takes c5, Lysyj recaptures, and now d4. Praggnanandhaa wins the piece back, it's just a temporary sacrifice. We have bishop to d6, saving the dark squared bishop, and now Praggnanandhaa wisely doesn't immediately take the knight and double his pawns, but plays f4. This isn't his invention, it's a highly theoretical line, and this is still common theory in the 4 knights game, but still it's a nice variation to know. We have knight to c6, e5, now definitely threatening one of the pieces and taking one of them, bishop to b4, saving the bishop again, and Praggnanandhaa takes on f6, grabs the knight. We have queen takes f6 and a3, chasing the bishop away or asking him to take. And he captures on c3, we have b takes c3, and now Praggnanandhaa's queenside pawn structure is a bit wrecked, but he has the bishop pair. We have d5 by Lysyj restraining the center and gaining more space. Praggnanandhaa castles in this position. And we have bishop to f5, a nice centralizing move and the perfect square for the bishop to develop to. We have rook to b1. Perhaps instead Praggnanandhaa could have checked the black king and forced the bishop to move to an inferior square and thus gain the tempo, because now after rook to b1, Lysyj is free to castle kingside without losing queenside. Without losing the tempo. We have bishop to d3, challenging the nice f5 bishop for black. Rook h to e1, and now a4, advancing on the king side, and in this position Praggnanandhaa is a bit worse because of the messed up pawn structure, but also because his dark squared bishop hasn't really got too much scope. It could develop to the a3, f8 diagonal, but there isn't many targets on it really. So the main problem is the bishop, I would say, and the pawns might be double-edged because the b file is open and he might get some activity and threaten the black king. Here we have g6, defending the bishop some more, freeing up the queen to move. Bishop to a3, now developing on the sensible diagonal. Rook to e3, infiltrating with the rook and cramping white pieces, forcing Praggnanandhaa to defend. It's a good move and it puts the pressure on white and increases his advantage, at least on a psychological level, because it's never pleasant to have your opponent's rook in the middle of your position. And in fact Praggnanandhaa plays bishop to c1 immediately, chasing the rook away. It goes to e6. We have bishop to e3, repeating, perhaps going for a draw or hoping for one at least, and Lysyj declines with knight to a5. Here we have rook to b5, attacking the knight, and knight goes to c4, and this might not have been the best move because now Praggnanandhaa can just simply capture on c4, and after d takes c4, black doubled his pawns as well on the c file, and perhaps he should have just retreated the knight back to c6 instead of trading, because now his pawns aren't that good as well. We have rook to e5 by Praggnanandhaa, a nice centralizing move, trading a pair of rooks. Black takes, rook takes e5, and we have f takes e5, of course, not taking with the d-pawn because that would lose the queen, which is pinned. We have queen to a6, targeting the now undefendable a4 pawn and definitely proving his positional superiority. I mean, all of his pieces are more active, he has a better pawn structure and definitely a more active queen, which is now able to just simply take the a4 pawn, which couldn't be defended anymore. Praggnanandhaa plays queen to e2, and now Lysyj just captures on a4. We have bishop to b4. Perhaps it might have been better to retreat the bishop to c1 and then to develop it to g5 or h6, perhaps, because this position is now getting hopeless for young Praggnanandhaa, and his bishop is about to go for a long walk across the board. First, Lysyj starts with a5, chasing the bishop for the first time. Praggnanandhaa retreats to c5. We have b6, chasing it again. Bishop to e7, and rook to d7. And here Praggnanandhaa doesn't just move the bishop again, he plays queen to f3. And now if black grabs the bishop, he would have a perpetual check and a draw. After rook takes e7, Praggnanandhaa could just play queen a8 and king d7, queen d5 check, king e8 and perpetual check. There is nothing black can do about it. But Lysyj saw that, and after queen f3 played a cautious move to prevent it with king to b8, after which the bishop is now actually hanging and Praggnanandhaa retreats it to g5. And now in this position Lysyj simply takes the pawn on c2, because queen to f3 for Praggnanandhaa was a double-edged move and he was threatening a perpetual check, but hanging another pawn in the process, and perhaps he shouldn't have gone for it because it was a bluff which was really easy to spot. And I think it's dead over now. There is nothing Praggnanandhaa can do to prevent the a-pawn from becoming a queen and just marching up the board. Here he plays rook to c1, chasing the queen away. The queen goes to e4, trying to trade. Praggnanandhaa declines with queen to f2. h5, expanding on the king side as well. Queen to a2, threatening the c pawn. Queen to c6, defending it. Rook to f1, king to b7, and this is resignable for 10 moves now. I mean, okay, he is a kid, so perhaps he's inexperienced in these positions, and maybe he thought he still had some drawing chances and that he would find another chance for a perpetual check. He played h3 here, making some luft. Rook to d5, threatening rook to b5 and just marching his pawns. King to h2, rook to b5, rook to f3, defending the c pawn, rook b3, queen e2, and a4. Now there is absolutely nothing white can do to stop these pawns, and in the meantime he doesn't really have any threats of his own. He can't even push forward the d pawn and perhaps make a pass d pawn. There is just no hope, and in this position Praggnanandhaa gave up. I mean, yeah, black just has a too easy task of herding his pawns to the first rank, and the rook and queen perfectly placed to do that. With this game, Igor Lysyj has 1.5 points from the first 2 rounds. He drew against the Indian GM Debashish yesterday in the first round, and Praggnanandhaa is still at a half point out of 2 rounds with his draw against Evgeny Romanov from yesterday's game. Tomorrow he's playing with the white pieces again against Colombian GM Gallego Alcaraz, and let's hope he finally gets a full point out of the game. I'm looking forward to that game as well. Thanks everybody for watching. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.